everybody, welcome to RCC at Home. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Danny.
If you're new here and checking us out, hit that subscribe button and the little bell to be notified when new videos are released.
Yeah, if you want that bell to be my turkey call, just let me know. I'll send you a recording of my turkey call.
You actually don't want to.
I've been doing it at the office for the last couple weeks, getting ready for turkey season, and it's kind of driving her nuts. But hey, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're actually here to talk about...
There's really fun stuff happening here at RCC, and we want to clue you in on it. We've been doing Blessings Bingo for...
27 days.
For 27 days. Danny, what's Blessings Bingo about?
Blessings Bingo is legit. It's all about this verse right here, John 13:37. You know these things, now go do them. That is the path of blessing. Jesus calls us to actually act out and live out our faith. And when we do that, not only do we bless others, but we receive a blessing as well. So that's what Blessing Bingo is all about.
So for all of you playing, we want to bless you if you get some bingos. So what were the bingos?
Bingo number 1. You get 1 bingo and 49 others get bingo as well. We're having an ice cream social in the warm weather of summer in just a few short weeks. But if you get 2 bingos, you actually get a free baseball-style RCC t-shirt. I'm super pumped about that. And if you get the whole thing filled out, you get, what is it, like 5, 6 bingos, whatever it is, blackout. You do all spaces. You get to have lunch with your staff member of choice. And if you choose me, we're going to Jay's. All right.
Okay, Jay's.
I'm just kidding. You can pick wherever you want to go if you choose me.
If you want more details on that, you can find it on rccsunday.com. Also on RCC Sunday, you can find our signups for Backyard Bible Studies.
Yes. If you're like us, we're type 7. We love people, but not all... you don't have to be a type 7 to love spending time with people. We're made for community. So if you're excited to get back into community groups, we're starting to host those backyard Bible studies, hang out on people's porch. Yeah. Maybe you have Jay's catered in. I don't know. But
I want to go to that group.
Yeah. If you want in on that, head over to rccsunday.com. You can sign up there. And our last announcement for today is
Mother's Day is next weekend, so moms, we will be celebrating you, and you will have an opportunity to sign up to win a Mother's Day giveaway at a spa.
Yes.
So moms, we know you need to get away from your kiddos.
Yeah.
Also, talking about getting away from your kiddos and having a break, if you want to come and experience in-person services, Danny and I will be downstairs with all of the kids, birth through pre-K, just kidding.
Birth through 5.
Birth
through
through
5,
Birth through
5th grade. Yeah.
We'll be
2 services. Yeah.
starting on Mother's Day weekend, so if you want to come and check us out in person, you can do that and leave your kiddos downstairs with Danny and I.
Yeah. So
right now we're going to get into the service.
All right.
Hey RCC family, welcome to RCC at Home. My name is Sam, I'm one of the pastors here, and my goodness, this is it. We're here, 30 days to live. We are creeping up on the end. The last week is happening right now. May 5th is the final day of our 30 days to live Blessings Bingo thing. If you've been doing that, awesome. A bunch of you have sent in different bingos or double bingos or blackouts, and that's been awesome. But one quick note, if you are going to send that in, you can email me, you can email Mike, you can email anybody that's here on the staff team. go ahead and do that. But when you do, make sure that you give us your name and shirt size or who you want to have lunch and coffee with, depending on what kind of bingo you got. Some people, you may have like an email address like cf43002007 at yahoo.com or something like that. And so it doesn't really always tell us what your name is. So just make sure you tell us your name and make sure all that information is in there. That would be awesome. We've already got over 50, so we're going to have an ice cream party. It's going to be amazing. We can't wait for that. And that's for everybody in the church, whether you got a bingo or not. It's for everybody, all the kids, everybody. It's going to be a blast. We can't wait. It's coming up so soon. So with that being the case, what I want you to know is here we are, right? 30 days. We're at the end. How does that make you feel? I mean, this is going by so fast. 30 days, it's just gone. It's crazy. I mean, I've been having all kinds of different phrases that just come into my brain as I've been thinking about going into this final weekend of the 30 Days to Live series. I've been thinking about how to finish this thing, right? And so I've got all these phrases like finish hard or sprint to the finish or leave it all on the field or leave it all on the mat or leave it all on the ring or leave it all on the course, all those different things, right? Live with no regrets. Pain is weakness, leaving the body. Or to quote Neil Young, right? It's better to burn out than to fade away or drop the mic. All these things that talk about finishing well, and I could go on and on and on. These things are literally everywhere. There's so many of these phrases. I think we have an affinity for them for some reason. And that makes me wonder, right? Why? Why do we have an affinity for these things? Why do we care so much about finishing well or leaving boldly or getting to the end in a great way? I don't know about you, but I have a feeling it has something to do with getting to that finish line of life and feeling like we can celebrate. I think we don't want to waste our lives. Nobody wants to waste their lives. We want to get to the end and believe our days are worth something. Like we gave it all. Like we gave every last bit that we could give. There's not much worse than getting to the finish line and wishing maybe you'd given just a little bit more. Whenever I think of that, I actually have this video in mind. There's this guy who's an ultra runner. He runs like 50, 100-mile races, and there's this one he's famous for where he finishes just so intensely. Why don't you take a look at the clip and you'll see what I mean. I love that clip because, well, for so many reasons. One, it's an amazing race. Like, he's at the end of a 50-mile race and he is just booking it and like just going after it. And then also it just kind of feels almost reckless. Like, he doesn't care in that moment about looking good or seeming composed or under control or even sounding good, right? Like, his breathing is just crazy. No, in that moment, he is giving every last bit of himself. He's just laying it all out there. If you've ever been to a distance running race, you maybe have seen this at the finish line. I mean, these guys, these people that are finishing, they can get a little ugly, right? Like, they can look like this, where they just have these faces that are contorted and awkward and weird because their bodies are just straining so hard to get to that finish line. There's this principle here that I want us to get our heads around because it's straight from the Bible. To finish well, to leave boldly, it requires of us this abandonment of our neat and tidy and picture perfect selves. We've got to let that go. And this actually comes straight, directly from the Bible. It's in 1 Corinthians, and it's Paul. He's talking about this. He's talking to this church about this. He's giving this image, and it's this exact same image. This is what it says. It says, "Don't you realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I'm not just shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified." God says, run to win. Don't halfway do this life. Do it full on, completely. To win the race or the match or the game, it takes a certain quality. It's this reckless abandonment. It's a giving of yourself so completely to the goal that you're willing to risk looking like a fool to achieve it. It requires risk. And this is what Paul is getting at, and it's actually even more clear as you read through 1 Corinthians, and we're going to come back to that in a minute. But first I want to get to this point, because we're really talking about this term, and we haven't just said it out loud yet. What we're really talking about is this thing called legacy. And understanding what legacy is, it can help a lot. For a lot of people, legacy might have to do with finances. A few years back, my wife Meg and I, we sat down with a lawyer and we did like the due diligence thing where you sit and you write up a living will with them. What would happen if something happened to us? It's an important thing to do, and I think they call it legacy planning. And it's a good idea. Like, it's something you should do. If you haven't done it yet, it's probably a good idea. But I gotta say, it's a really weird and awkward experience. It's a humbling one. It's kind of a lot like this 30 Days to Live has been, because it forces you to say out loud, I am going to die. Someday soon or someday long from now. Hopefully for everyone, it's a long time from now, but at some point, you have to be able to admit, I am going to die. And this forces you to do it. And that begs the question, if you're going to die, what do I want my legacy to be? What do you want your legacy to be? How do you leave boldly? A couple weeks back, Pastor Mike made an announcement about some shifts and changes that are going to be happening starting in 2022. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. If you haven't heard the announcement, you can go on YouTube and you can check that out that way. But essentially, in 2022, Mike will begin stepping out of the lead pastor role, and I'll begin to step into that role. But a couple weeks back, after that announcement was made, Mike and I sat down and just chatted all about that announcement on our podcast, on Unscripted. And we knew I had to talk about a few different things. We were going to talk about what he was going to be doing and what went into that decision, and talk about just what I'm thinking and feeling about this new role and how excited I am about our church, and just how incredible I think God has positioned this church to do some amazing things. I'm so excited about it. And so we had to talk about those things. We both kind of knew it, but it's unscripted. So whenever we have an unscripted conversation, I always want to catch Mike a little off guard if I can. So I had a question in my back pocket I was waiting to ask him, and he didn't know it was coming. And so at the very end, I had this question that I asked him, and it's this. It was what do you hope is your legacy? And honestly, he gave the most amazing answer, but I'll let you listen to it yourself. Have a listen.
I hope your legacy is here.
That's a tough question, actually.
Yeah.
I feel in a lot of ways I've already experienced my legacy,
Yeah.
just from people's comments, especially, when someone says, like I've gotten some really nice notes and stuff this week. Someone says like, hey, you've been meaningful in my life or whatever. So the legacy for me is more individualistic. It's about each individual person more so than like a giant organizational legacy.
Yeah.
I don't really have feelings about that, but I have feelings for each individual person. So maybe that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's what's the most important part to me is those one-on-one personal conversations. That's what I want my legacy to be. I want people to say, wow, he helped me have a better life.
Yeah.
He helped me to find faith. He helped me to get close to God. I mean, something that made a difference in their individual life is what my legacy, what I want it to be. I think that's what I'll get to talk to people in heaven about. Like, hey, remember all those years we spent together in Ripon? I remember when we did this one thing together, and we'll get to celebrate that in heaven. That's the legacy I want.
I thought that was such an incredible answer to that question, because it's such a great picture of what this church has always been about. People and their lives being transformed by God, and that making all the difference in their lives. It got me to thinking. I was actually listening to this talk given by this guy named Rich Villodas. He was talking about celebrity culture, of all things. And he said this quote that I thought was really interesting. It took me off guard. I really appreciate it. He said, "Mass appeal does not equal maturity. Just because you've achieved a level of popularity doesn't mean your character is solid or should be followed, or that you'll have a good legacy. How you define success, what you want your legacy to be, it matters. Creating a large organization, like Mike was talking about, does not necessarily equal an amazing legacy. That's not what it's all about. And in the same way, fame and fortune do not necessarily equal a quality legacy that you want to write home about or leave behind. When we talk about legacy, maybe a few pictures come to mind. We've said it since the beginning of the series, right? All of us, we're eventually going to have our names on one of these. We're going to have our names on a tombstone, right? And we have those dates, the beginning and end of our lives, and we're living in the dash between those two, but we will all have our names on one of those things. Maybe for some of you, you'll have an even bigger thing for your legacy. Maybe some of you someday will have a big old building and your name will be plastered across the side. And honestly, it's kind of an amazing thing, right? Like if you care about an institution or a group of people so much that you want to provide a building and your name be on there, I think that's amazing. It's pretty cool to be able to do that for a group of people. But when it comes down to it, would you rather have your name on the side of a building? Or would you rather have your name on the lips of people telling stories of hope and life? That you were a guide for them, that you led them closer to Jesus. That last one, that was Paul's goal. When he was writing all of these letters in the New Testament, that was Paul's goal. That's what he wanted his legacy to be. And he did everything he could to achieve it. He ran the race to win. The words he said just before the verses that we talked about with running the race to win, this is actually what he's talking about. It's in 1 Corinthians 9. It's 19 through 23. It says this: "Even though I am a free man with no master, I've become a slave to all people to bring many to Christ. When I was with the Jews, I lived like the Jews to bring the Jews to Christ. When I was with those who followed the Jewish law, I lived under that law. Even though I am not subject to the law, I did this so I could bring to Christ those who are under the law. When I'm with the Gentiles, who do not follow the Jewish law, I too live apart from that law so I can bring them to Christ. But I do not ignore the law of God, I obey the law of Christ. When I am with those who are weak, I share their weakness, for I want to bring the weak to Christ. Yes, I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. I do everything to spread the good news and share in its blessings." There's that word again, blessings. The truth is, your goal defines the means. And the means, what you do and how you live, that becomes your legacy. To leave this life boldly and in a way that God would have us live and leave, it has to be more about Jesus and Jesus' way of living than it is about us. It's being willing to show our cracks and flaws and contorted faces so we can show Jesus' work in and through us. You see a picture here of me when I was running back in college days, and I had some funny looks, and I only caught a few on camera, thankfully. But the reality is, when you're stretching and pushing for the finish line, you're going to look a little goofy. Legacy and leaving boldly was never about us looking good. It always has been about emptying ourselves in an effort to represent the love we've experienced from Jesus to others. That's it. That's the most powerful possible legacy. But how do you do that? what does it practically look like? We're in this series right now, right? We're finishing up 30 Days to Live. We've been playing Blessings Bingo. And it's got me thinking about that word, blessings, to give a blessing. The word, if you look it up in the dictionary, it has a number of different definitions. One is a beneficial thing for which one is grateful, something that brings well-being. Another one is a person's sanction or support, how they support somebody or give their blessing on it, their sanction. Or God's favor or protection. These are all definitions of the word blessing. And if you read through the Bible, you find this theme. All those definitions tied up together. They're one thing. They come in different forms and different shapes as you read through the Bible, but they're there all the time. And you can also see this other thing that happens in the Bible, and maybe you've experienced it in everyday life too, but people, they do this thing at the end of their life. They're maybe even on their deathbed, and they know the end is near. And what do? They give their blessing away. I mean, Isaac, there's this crazy story in the Old Testament where Isaac, he's getting old. He's got two sons, Esau and Jacob. Maybe you've heard of this. Jacob had already stolen the birthright from Esau, which just means all of his possessions. But now, Jacob is going to try and steal his blessing. And so Jacob disguises himself, does some crazy stuff. It's an awesome story. You should go and read it. But he goes and he gets the blessing. And this is the blessing. I want this blessing. Maybe you do too. This is a crazy blessing. Listen to what it says. It says, from the dew of heaven and the richness of the earth, may God always give you abundant harvests of grain and bountiful new wine. Starts out pretty good, doesn't it? May many nations become your servants, and may they bow down to you. May you be the master over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. All who curse you will be cursed, and all who bless you will be blessed. It's a pretty good blessing. That's an amazing thing to say about somebody. And that's the blessing he gets. It's a deathbed blessing. But the Bible isn't limited to just those. And Paul, when he writes letters, almost always ends with a blessing. In 1 Thessalonians, he says this at the end. He says, now may the God of peace make you holy in every way. And may your whole spirit and soul and body be kept blameless until the Lord Jesus Christ comes again. God will make this happen, for he who calls you is faithful. Maybe the most powerful blessing that's ever given is from Jesus. Right? The most powerful deathbed blessing is when Jesus is on the cross and he looks at these people that had basically just put him there in the most awful way possible. And this is what he looks out to them and says. It's in Luke 23. It says, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. And he says this as the soldiers gambled for his clothes by throwing dice. There's just something about our final words. They're powerful. But I want to challenge you on this. When it comes to blessings, don't wait till your deathbed to give your blessings away. Don't wait till your deathbed to give your blessings away. Jesus and Paul may have had powerful last words, but they spent their lives here blessing people daily. You can too. You can empower people through encouragement. That's a blessing. You can encourage somebody. That's a way to bless them. You can give people direction, right? Through affirmation of their gifts and talents. You can say, hey, you are good at that. Keep on doing it. Keep on working at it. That's a blessing in someone's life. You can bless people like Jesus did by setting people and yourself free through forgiveness. You've been forgiven by God. You can give that out to others. You can bless people by forgiving them. You can give that blessing away. We've been playing Blessings Bingo, right? And there are a couple of squares that are especially helpful for this. Number one is this. It's send an encouraging text or email to 5 people. That's a way to bless others. You can also email or write to someone who has made a difference in your life. That is a blessing to someone. It's not waiting till the end to give your blessing away. It's doing it now. You can give your blessing away. You can live and eventually leave boldly through that. We're talking about legacy. We're talking about leaving boldly. All of us, we all have a name. Some people talk and some people talk about making a name for themselves. It's just something we do. But for all of us, right, all of our names will end up on a tombstone someday. Maybe a select few of us will get our name on a building. I'm guessing that's not going to be me. You can have your name on the lips of the people you've had an impact on. You can do that. But the place you want your name most of all, it's in heaven. In Luke 10:20, it says this. Jesus is talking about all the things that people would normally rejoice over. But Jesus says, rejoice because your names are registered in heaven. Rejoice because your names are registered in heaven. Let's get down to it. In the end, as we finish this series up, how do you leave boldly? You start by leaving with your name written in heaven, by accepting Jesus' gift of salvation and forgiveness and freedom, to thank him for his forgiveness and to then live for him ruling in your life. That's the best way to live with a confidence that only God can give. And you can leave having run the race to win by giving your blessings away, by empowering people and giving people direction and affirmation for the ways that they're doing so good, doing so well. You can forgive people. We can be transformed by Jesus and represent Jesus to the people in our lives, and that can be how we leave boldly. If you want that for yourself this week, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray that God would help us to leave boldly and live boldly in those ways. Would you pray with me? Dear God, we've been in this 30 days to live thing, just imagining what it would be like to know that the end is soon. And it's maybe shook a bit of us, a number of us. And that's good. So God, as we're shaken by you, we ask that you would help us to leave boldly and live boldly. That we would have our names written in heaven by saying, we love you, Jesus. We accept the gift of your forgiveness and grace and the way that you make us right with God. Thank you. Rule in our life. Be the one who leads us. And then help us to live boldly by empowering people and encouraging people and forgiving people. Help us to give our blessings away and then be blessed because of it. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. So we just finished talking about legacy and leaving boldly. Here's what I want to encourage you with as we close. Make the work this church is doing part of your legacy. If you do legacy planning, you're thinking about how to leave wealth or your finances for your kids, and that's beautiful. But so is investing and creating with what God has given you, a powerful legacy of what God is doing here through this church, through your finances. And you can do that by giving online. If you go to rccsunday.com and click on the link for giving or the icon at the bottom of the screen, you can set up a way to give to this church and give to what God is doing through this church, because it's an incredible thing. And that can be part of your legacy. And I want to encourage you to do that. It's a legacy that lasts into heaven and eternity. And I want that for you. But also, you can't have an impact on people's lives or your names in their stories of change and their names, your name in their stories of the way that they've been led to Jesus without being around people. So what I want to do is encourage you. If you haven't been in a community group before, this is the time to do it. We're starting them up with some backyard Bible studies this summer. Just this fantastic way for you to gather with other people who want to follow Jesus and hang out in somebody's backyard. It's an awesome way to do that. If you want to be part of that, you can go to rccsunday.com as well and sign up there. It's an awesome chance to get to know some people, but also grow your faith and also be part of other people's stories. Now, the last thing I want to do real quick is just finish with how Paul finishes one of his letters with a blessing. He says this: "Now may the Lord of peace himself give you his peace at all times and in every situation. The Lord be with you all." Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.